JB's favorite guy, Mel Kiper, is taking Colorado star QB SHEDEUR Sanders over Cam Ward in this year's draft. And there's actually a video here of him explaining why. Check this out.
So, Mel, tell me this. Who do you project will be the better NFL quarterback? Is it Cam or SHEDEUR?
I'm going to go SHEDEUR Sanders. I'm going to be steadfast in that. I've had him number one, QB1 all along, really since last year, and love everything about the kid. I mean, people say, well, he takes too many sacks. Yes, he has to get the ball out of tick faster, but he dealt with NFL conditions. Shannon, Stephen A., we talk about that. Who had to deal with what you're going to deal with in the NFL, what you're going to have to survive in the NFL? He survived hit after hit. How he did it, I don't know. He was 11 of 13 games this year at 70% or higher. He never completed less than 60% of his passes in a game. And in 2023, when he was getting pounded and getting sacked and getting hit time after time, he was at 69% and change with 27 touchdowns, 3 picks, 4 rushing touchdowns. That's 31-3 touchdown interception ratio. So to me, when you look at SHEDEUR, accuracy, slip and slide in the pocket. Yes, he can get you a 3rd and 8 first down. People say, well, he's going to run to 4.8. Patrick Mahomes ran 4.8, 4.84. Doesn't have an explosive arm. Neither did Johnny Unitas, Peyton Manning. Okay, we talk about explosive arms. You know, you don't need to have that. Tom Brady, another one, didn't have the explosive arm or explosive legs at 5'2", 440. So you can win in the NFL, win big in the NFL, going about your business like SHEDEUR Sanders does.
Said a lot there, Steve. Break that down. I mean, do you agree with the overall take of overall reasoning of why he's picking SHEDEUR over Cam?
This is where ESPN misses Todd McShay. Because Todd McShay recently came on a podcast. I saw the clip on Twitter yesterday, and he says, my biggest problem with Mel is that he'd always go with the stated consensus on a quarterback, and he took the safe way out. And now, I like Mel. My hair goals are Mel Kiper. When I grow up, I want to have hair like him.
Yes.
Now, with that said, when he keeps talking about getting pounded, getting hit, right, that's because he held the ball too long, Mel. I watched a lot of Colorado football, probably the most I've watched since Darian Hagan and Eric Bieniemy, okay? But the reality is at least half those sacks were on him because he's playing 10 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. I'm like, bro, get rid of the hand grenade. It's going to blow up on you. And it did. I think he'll be okay. I have some doubts about his ability to consistently throw the opposite field hash mark out. If you watch his games, that's the one throw I thought he struggled with a little bit. Now, I believe both him and Cam early on, they're going to have a system and coaching which really emphasizes the quick game. Get that going first. Then you can expand it. But, Coach, I think you're the expert here. What did you think of Mel Kiper's rundown of SHEDEUR Sanders?
This is why he's a joke. And I'll be honest, he's absolute joke. He knows absolutely nothing. He's never been right on quarterbacks. Never. Like, go back in history. He's been
the Colt GM. Smitty, you weren't even born yet. There was one year where he thought the Colts should take Trent Dilfer, and they had this veteran GM, real salty guy. And he goes, you know what? He goes, that's why Kiper's a joke. Now, it didn't help that they got Trev Alberts, who got injured. So, but that was one of the great moments. I
saw that like the other day on Twitter for some reason. Yeah,
I forgot his name, but he was funny.
Steve. It's unbelievable, man. It's so bad. I'm so tired of it.
Real quick, Jason, we actually have Todd McShay's take on Mel. I think that Steve was talking about. Take a listen.
Mel Kiper's all in on SHEDEUR Sanders. Are you?
I know it's frustrating because I spent I think 17 years at ESPN. I want to say like 13 of them going back and forth with Mel. And my biggest complaint outside of the Notre Dame quarterbacks, which I still believe he had a tie with an agent and someone was in his pocket. But Clausen, Brady Quinn, all that stuff. Outside of those guys, my biggest frustration with Mel was he never like planted a flag with a quarterback. He always was like, right down the middle of the fairway, 230 yards, nice and easy, hit the double, whatever you want to call it, and would never be like, he would never have a stance that kind of went against the grain a little bit. And now all of a sudden, I'm out on my own, doing my own thing, pleased to be, but I'm not there to kind of combat him. And this would have been a lot of fun because I just don't. I like SHEDEUR a lot. I think SHEDEUR's got a really good chance to be a top 3 pick. I think if he winds up with Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, that's a good marriage. I think it would be a little different from Brian Daboll and what Daboll's used to, but I think Brian can develop quarterbacks well.
Wow, that thing to the ties? Huh.
I got to get him on the show now.
He said, I've seen
Yes,
enough.
you do.
I got to get Todd on the show. I got to get Todd on the show.
You know, Todd McShay left ESPN. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like super late on that. I had no idea.
You know, hey guys, when Mel Kiper made the comparison to Brady, I just come on. I know they're both
that screams, Steve. Let's be honest. That screams. We've seen the clips of Dion and Tom on the phone with SHEDEUR, and we've talked about. That's what it is. It's all his whole basis is based on the stigma that they're cool and that Brady's trying to mentor SHEDEUR. Let's be honest. And
Tom
Brady,
Brady's game was about getting the ball off on time consistently and staying away from sacks. And there is this narrative that he wasn't very good at Michigan. He actually was better than people think. The problem was the guy that was his direct competitor came out of Central Casting. His name was Drew Henson, who, by the way, played Major League Baseball for a short while and made the National Football League. So I don't want to call him a bust. He did more in pro sports than 99% of us that ever did that laced him up in any level, right? So I give Drew Henson a lot of credit. He had one of the most unbelievable releases. It was a little bit low. It wasn't perfect, but man, that ball came out of there like Nolan Ryan. That ball was buzzing, and Tom Brady could not do that. But Tom Brady still had to share snaps because Lloyd Carr was intoxicated by the physical talent of Drew Henson. But you go back to Brady's last year, and I remember watching this game, a little bit of it, and then watching the highlights late. Michigan was down 10 points to a loaded Penn State defense. They had Courtney Brown, number 1 pick. LeVar Arrington, I think it was the number 2 pick. Brandon Short won a Super Bowl. He played like 9 years. They had David Macklin, played in the National Football League. And they had a couple other guys that got drafted. That's an NFL defense. That what he did in the fourth quarter in Happy Valley, and he capped it off by throwing a corner shot to Marcus Knight. I mean, just an absolute dime. We should have known something, but he was a slow, doughy, chubby white guy, so he said, nah. Then he plays in the Orange Bowl against Shaun Alexander-led Alabama, and they came back twice. He had me believing David Terrell was the next Michael Irvin. There were signs that Brady was going to be better than just a guy. But when I see SHEDEUR, I can't say, well, that's the next Tom Brady.
The only comparison you even try to reach for is that, SHEDEUR had some late game heroics and moments and some comebacks. So that's the one thing I'll give to him that's like, okay, I can see that a little bit from a comparison. Other than that, let's not compare nobody to the GOAT.
If I'm his quarterback coach and he's coachable, the first thing I tell SHEDEUR is I get like 35, 40 cut-ups of him drifting. And I say, I'm going to say, SHEDEUR, at this level, you're a below average athlete. When that back foot plants, your first movement, if you're not going to throw it, it better be climbing the pocket, not bailing out of it. He does that way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Fouts was the best I've ever seen at climbing the pocket, going into the belly of the beast. Marino, you had to time his 40-yard dash with the sundial, but he was Baryshnikov. He was a tap dancer in that pocket, in that phone booth. That's what it's really all about. SHEDEUR has some arm talent, but I don't know. There's certain throws. I'm just telling you, the deep out to the opposite hash is going to be something that I'm waiting to see come August.
There has to be people in his corner like telling him, like saying the same thing to him, right, JB? Like, there's no way. Like, we all see it. He holds the ball too long. There's no way Dion or whoever, somebody in this circle has to be telling him the same information.
Listen, I want to be honest and I want to be clear, Smitty. I want you to have a clear and concise and a non-biased take on this.
Yep.
If he, seriously, Steve, if he was not Dion's son, would we be talking about him at all like this? I mean, honest. I know it's hard to do and separate Because the fact
well,
is,
look,
it
as
is
someone who's not trying to get invited to the cookout, of course not. I really think, and me and Whitlock have talked about this, a lot of media members are afraid to be absolutely blunt about SHEDEUR because they don't want to run afoul of Deion and the social media heat. Yes.
I mean, I don't think it's any different than the Stephen A. beef with Bron right now because his take of Bronny James. If he wasn't LeBron's son, we have the same question and argument. Like, it's hard to do though, Smitty. I get it because you are LeBron's son, you are Deion's son. It is a hard separation, but my eyes work.
Question: no, he wouldn't be covered the same way. But if he had the same numbers and everything like that, I think we would still be talking about him as one of the top quarterbacks in this draft. But the conversation and the discussions wouldn't be nowhere near this high. We wouldn't have this many, SHEDEUR topics that we've had over the last year on our show, and the media wouldn't have it, either. He's a big name because of who he is. So, that's the obvious answer.
And I'll be fair, Steve, and I don't know what your take is on this in lieu of a good friend of mine, Troy Taylor, being thrown under the bus by some females at Stanford today. I got to ask you this question, and this is a very intriguing one. If Cam Ward hadn't transferred from Incarnate Word to Wazoo to Miami, would we be talking about him in the old landscape of things? That's the thing. I'm just being honest. I don't think he gets that traction either.
But again, look, at Washington State, he had a pretty good set of receivers. This is what he had at Miami last year. He had at least 3 offensive linemen that'll play at the next level. Jaylen Rivers, Mawanoa, and Anez Cooper. Those guys will play in the National Football League. Mawanoa will probably be a top 10 pick. Not saying he's the next Penei Sewell, but he has a lot of those traits, okay? He also had a better running game. Damian Martinez, I believe, I look at these running back lists, and they say he's like the 15th best running back. I think Damian's actually underrated. He was underused. We should have rode him to the Syracuse game all the way to the playoffs. We got away from him. Again, I'm just a jabroni watching on a couch or in your cigar lounge. But he had a lot of talent. Also, he did not have a tight end at Washington State. Elijah Arroyo will probably be a top 50 to 75 player. So you can say what you want about Cristobal, but I thought Shannon Dawson did an excellent job running an offense that was suited towards his skills, kind of a power air raid or an air raid with power running principles. And he had better talent around him, at least on one side of the ball. So he did benefit from the transfer.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, to your point, JB. I think all players who play at a bigger school or connected to a bigger name coach gets more attention. That's just the simple facts. So to answer your question, because if Josh Allen, if he went to Alabama versus Wyoming, I'm sure we would have talked about Josh Allen more. That's just part of the facts. So I think that's.
And Josh Allen is lucky that he's 6'5", 240, and ran a 4.4. Look, if he had the dimensions of either SHEDEUR or Cam, where he's not that big, a little bit short, doesn't have the rocket arm, because there were questions about Josh Allen's ability to be really consistently accurate. You look at the Tom Brady draft, they were literally drafting quarterbacks that threw for under 50% in front of Tom. Yeah. The guy's name was Spurgeon Wynn. He threw for 49.7. I give
that's like AR5, Steve.
That is, and that's in that era where it's a little bit better. I got to give the Patriots credit. This was Belichick, and I get it. Belichick was made by Brady. That's the narrative, right? Smitty, did you know the first year Brady was on the Patriots roster, they took a risk. They actually kept 4 quarterbacks that year. I didn't realize that. Most teams don't keep 3 nowadays. They actually said, we see something in him. We're going to keep a 4th quarterback. And Belichick flat out said in the Brady 6, it was a wasted roster spot, but that was the NFL version of redshirting. So when people say, how much credit does Belichick get? Well, I think he helped along the process. He meant something to that guy's career.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too. I want to, the Jackson Dart. Let's just dive into him.
I like Jackson. He's good.
I like him, too. And here's why I like him. And I think he's the Bo Nix of this draft. He's played the most games. He has the most experience, and he's played for a guy that actually gets under center plus runs RPO, and that's going to be the combination that the NFL uses nowadays. JB, And I think
Are you
it's
sure
great.
he's played more than Cam Ward? I think Cam Ward set some sort of record for all-time passing yards. And again, it took him longer. And also, here's another thing that Cam Ward did at Miami. Not a lot, but enough. They forced him to play under center at times. He actually got under center, and we were able to run 12 and sometimes, 11 personnel, and we did some play action. That never happened at Incarnate Ward at Wazoo.
No, what I mean is the little things that I see with him remind me of Bo Nix as far as just the little intangible things that quarterbacks know they need to have to move on to the next level. I don't know how good he'll be, but I think that he is a guy that relates to Bo Nix the most in this draft, who had success last year. I don't know. See, Cam Ward reminds me of Drake May, actually, as far as his release, his delivery, all those things. To me, he's more Drake May-ish. Jackson Dart's more Bo Nix-ish. And I don't know what team they end up on, which is going to be the true definer of this whole thing at the end of the day. But I'm just saying, I think there's some quarterbacks like the Shook kid. Everything I know from him when he was at Oregon. Yeah, when he was at Oregon, I heard the world of him. Like, he's got all the tools and intangibles, this and this and this. We'll see. I don't know. He goes to Louisville.
That's a Mario Cristobal recruit, by the way. Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
The other guy that I like is a good value if you get him after round 2. Kyle McCord as a developmental guy might be worth it. Again, if you take him in the first round, I think you're reaching. Early second, I think you're reaching. Now, you get him in sometime in between late second, early to mid fourth, somewhere in that range, and you give him time to just hold a clipboard for a season or two, he's got some possibilities. I was impressed by what he did at Syracuse.
One QB that neither one of you guys mentioned was one guy who ran a 4.37 40-yard dash at his Alabama Pro Day, and that's Jaylen Milroe.
Great running back prospect.
Yeah, we didn't mention him because
great running back prospect. How did he do running the post, the go, the dig, the comeback?
He was moving, y'all. He was moving.
I mean, can he backpedal?
He's like an action figure, don't he?
He looked good. God
Can
damn.
he play press coverage, Smitty? I mean,
that motherfucker look. He sure looked good.
I'm just telling you. Slash Stewart. That's his role. Create a whole package for Milroe, like with who was it? My cousin, Hines Ward, or the guy that went to Indiana that threw the touch, Antoine Randall. Yeah, be creative with this guy. I don't think he is your traditional under center or prototype quarterback for one reason. He does not throw accurately enough or on time.
Make him Taysom Hill. Make him the new Taysom Hill. He would destroy it. The Broncos should draft him. Sean Payton knows how to use those type of weapons. Put them in the system and use him as such. I think he could be a really good weapon. Seriously, though. Make
him Tyrone Hill. I get it. I'm with you on that.